Today is day 13 of letting you pick my meal, and I'll be making salmon in a stainless steel pan. Yes, I'm finally going to retry it. I'm also going to make some roasted potatoes along with cleaning out some veggies that are about to go bad. Cabbage, tomato, mushroom, red onion, and bell pepper. And back to the chopped potatoes. I'm going to cook them in some boiling water for just a little bit before throwing them in the oven. Adding some salt to the water as well, and while that's cooking, I'm going to toss the vegetables together. This will serve as a side to the salmon and potatoes. I do feel more confident this time in cooking the salmon, mainly because Matt gave me some really useful tips while I was in Seattle, but also because I've been cooking a bunch of other stuff. I'm kind of getting a better feel for the kitchen, if that makes sense. The hard part is still timing everything. Like for this, I need to cook the potatoes, make the side dish, and time the salmon so that it all comes out at the same time. And I gotta make sure I get all the shots. There are times when I forget to hit record, and it hurts. Anyway, back to the food. To keep things simple, I'm just going to season the veggies with Old Bay seasoning. So the potatoes were about halfway cooked, so I drained them and prepared an olive oil mix to toss them in. I just added salt, onion powder, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, and black pepper. Next is going back to the salmon, and it's closer to room temperature now, so it can cook more evenly. I've mentioned in the past that I don't like cutting vegetables and stuff because it's so tedious, but I've actually grown to like it since I've been getting to practice my knife skills. But one thing I don't think I'll ever enjoy doing is descaling fish. It just takes so long and the scales go everywhere. After I finish the tedious task, I pat them dry with a paper towel. I then drench both pieces in some oil, something I learned from Matt, and seasoned each side with salt and pepper. Back to the potatoes, I tossed them into the olive oil mixture until it was all well coated. Then I dropped it onto a baking sheet that had a wire rack and made sure to spread them out so each one could get a nice crust. Into the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I figure these will be ready when the salmon finishes cooking. Got my stainless steel pan on just above medium-high heat and added some oil. Then it was time to have some fun. I placed the salmon in, skin side down first, and up until that point I had planned everything out pretty well, but then of course we get to this point and I realized I didn't have the fish spatula that Matt gifted me, and I had to rummage through my drawers to find it. Luckily I found it and I used it to press down on the fish. Another thing I learned from Matt is that as you press down on the fish, you can feel the air bubbles, and once that subsides, then you know it's ready to flip. Once that quieted down, I went ahead and flipped the salmon, which didn't stick, guys. I was pretty happy. Although there were a couple spots here that I could have pressed down so it could have developed a better crust. I mean, compared to my last few attempts, these looked great. So I definitely didn't time the potatoes correctly. The salmon is pretty much done. This is nice and warm, but the potatoes, definitely not where I want it to be, so timing is off. I upped the oven temp to 500 degrees to help it cook faster, and then I took the salmon out to rest, and look how clean the pan is. Cleanup should be easy. I let the potatoes cook for another 8-ish minutes, but I didn't want my salmon to get cold, and they didn't look that bad, so I took them out. Next time I know to keep them in longer for a better golden brown. Last was plating everything, or attempting to. My plating skills could seriously use some help. I ended up just zooming in so it looks better. No one will ever know, right? The salmon was nice and juicy, didn't overcook it, which was nice. The veggies were simple but had good flavor, and the potatoes didn't have the crust I wanted, but the flavor and doneness were there. So hopefully I redeemed myself for my previous salmon disasters. What do you guys think?